Welcome to the Blender Goon. In this video we are going to be using multiple UV maps to make this Blender Easy button because Blender's easy. This is the second part of my how to bake in multiple ways video that I put out. So if you guys followed the last video, which I hope you did, you should have some lighting set up and a little plane out here and maybe the easy button, maybe not, but we're going to delete this sucker and start over. So delete the easy button, and I'm going to turn on my screencast keys for you, which I always forget to do. And Shift A, mesh. We can do a cylinder. I'm going to turn the cylinder down to 16 cuts, or vertices for around the edges, because kind of try to keep it low poly here, or at least somewhat. And in edit mode, I'm going to scale it on the Z-axis and move it up to about there. Grab the top, move it down a little more. Then I'm going to inset it and extrude it on the Z to about there, and do a Control B for a bevel. Give it some loop cuts. And then I'm going to scale that down a little bit and maybe bring it up just a hair. Something like that. That should give us a decent little easy button. I'm going to grab this edge loop with edge select mode, do Control B, and I'm going to give it one cut and then scale it down a little bit. And then I'm going to Alt select that center edge there, right click, hit M for mark seams. And that should be pretty good. Go back into object mode, right click and shade smooth it. It's not looking bad there. And I think I'm going to add a subdivision surface modifier on it. With one iteration is fine. Go back into edit mode and add a support loop here. And just bring it down. And I'm going to give this one bevel also. With one edge loop in the middle there, so like that. That doesn't look bad. And the rest of it should be fine. Okay, now we need some materials. You're probably in solid view, so it probably looks like this. You can go to material preview for the next part. And I'm going to go into face select mode. Yeah, you don't need to go in face select mode, but face select mode. I'm going to go over here to our materials tab and click new. That's going to give us one material, and I'm going to click the little plus and click new again. That'll give us our second. For the first material, I'm going to make it silver. And we'll roll that down a little bit. Turn the metallic up. Turn the roughness down a little bit. I'm going to lighten that up a little bit more. That's too dark. That's good. And for the second material, which is material 004, we're going to make it red. So I'm just going to pick a red here. And then over here with our face select mode, select the top. If you hit Control and number pad on, or plus on the number pad until you get down to there, and then I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to get one more down to our seam there. And then assign that. Oh, make sure you got the red selected and then click assign, and that turns it red. I'm going to turn my overlays off up here so that I can see it without the wireframe but still be in edit mode. And I'm going to scroll down and back to roughness off of that one, so it's a little more shiny. And we don't need the metallic on that either. Where's the metallic? Okay, there is no metallic. Good. And that'll give us a decent looking easy button there. Now we need to unwrap this guy so that it can bake properly. So I'm going to turn my overlays back on. And I'm going to select everything with A. Do a U and just an unwrap. And then we can jump up here into UV editing. And we can see our unwrap there. I'm going to select a vertex on this one and hit L. Just move it up and scale it a little bigger. Try to use as much texture space as you can. And this one I'm going to scale down just a hair to get it off the edge there. And that should do it. So now we need to jump to our shading tab to go ahead and get our UVs and everything set up and our textures set up. So the color of this guy, over in this left window, go ahead and hit Z and either do rendered or material preview. Rendered's probably better because of the transparency we're going to be using. And you can zoom in on it to have a good look at it. Over here, I'm going to hit Shift A and search color and add a mix color here. Then we can plug the mix color into the base color and select the mix color and hit Control T, and that'll add us a image texture and everything, but we don't want it into Factor, we want it into A. And I'm actually going to unplug this real quick because I like the red I had, and I'm going to select this and go to Hex and copy this with you actually don't even need that. I think you could just mouse over it and hit Control C. And then over here on the B, I'm going to select that and do a Control V, and it'll paste it right in there. You don't even have to click. You just mouse over it and copy and paste. Then we can plug this back in, and that'll keep our red color. Now for our image texture, I'm going to open this and go here. And Celestine has made me an easy button and a Blender icon transparency, so we'll use the Blender transparency on this one. Now we need a second UV map. So what I'm going to do is select this texture coordinate node, Shift S with the mouse over it, and input and change it to UV map. Now over here on our data object properties, or object data properties, we can add another UV map. And that's going to be UV map 1, and I'm going to rename it to Blender and turn on the camera for it. Now we can go back to layout, go into edit mode, make sure everything's selected, hit U and unwrap it a second time. We can hop into UV editing, and this UV map is only controlling the Blender icon now. As long as I make sure I did that. Oh, we need to change this over here. So back to shading, to the UV map, and change that to Blender. Now if we go back to UV editing, we can hit this little drop down and add our Blender logo, transparency, and we can move this stuff wherever we want now. So I'm going to grab that one, and if you move it around, it's not doing anything, so we'll just shove it up there. Grab this one, move it here, scale it up until the Blender icon fits the way you want it. I'm going to go into top view over here, and we're getting multiple iterations, and the reason that's doing is because I didn't change the image node. So back to shading, and on the image node there's a repeat, and we change the repeat to clip, and then we only get one. So go back to UV editing again, and this isn't rotated right, so I'm just going to hit R on my UV map over here and rotate it to where it looks like the Blender icon. Then I'm going to move it up, and you can just move this around until you get it to where you like it. You can resize it until you like it. So something like that. And then we go back to shading, and we can actually copy all this. So Shift D to copy it and just bring it down. We can plug, well, we can take this one and just drop it in here. Oh, we can't. Okay, so unplug base color, plug that into the B, and then plug the results back into the base color. Now we need another UV map. So we'll go back over here to the object data properties, add another plus. We're going to rename that one to easy. Turn it on. Change the Blender UV map over here to easy. And now we can unwrap this guy again and adjust our easy texture. So go to layout, unwrap it again with in edit mode with everything selected. Just unwrap it again. Go to UV editing, Why is it showing me the blender icon again? Oh, because I didn't change the image texture. So we can kill that and open and back into here and grab our easy texture. There we go. See, we all make mistakes and get confused over this stuff because it is complicated and makes you think a little bit. Now I can go to UV editing. Do the same thing. We don't need this one. We can move it out of the way. You can change this image by hitting this drop down, and we'll do. Where's my easy? This one. There we go. Now we can grab this, move it, scale it up, rotate it. Whoop. Scale it down a little bit. Put it where we want it. And the color's a little off, but we're going to fix that right now. So once you get your easy placed where you want it, maybe this way a little bit more. And the blender icon needs to go too. So I can select this and this. Make sure you turn your camera on and select your blender icon. Then you can move this one around and move your blender icon around if you want to readjust it. And then go back to our easy. And everything looks good there. So now we need to bake this thing, but I'm going to change a couple things that I forgot to do because I'm notorious for forgetting stuff. So let's jump back to shading. And on our two mix nodes, we're just going to change these mixes to add and put the factors both at 1, and that'll make it nice. And it matches the color up. I'm not the greatest with nodes, but we're working it out. We also need a image texture to bake to and another UV map to bake to. So we're going to hit Q. If you follow my last video, hit Q and make an image texture. Go to new, and we're going to name this Easy Button Bake. I got a bunch of files named Easy Button Bake, I think, so we're going to do Easy Button Bake Complete. Turn off the alpha and click OK. Now we need one of these guys over here, so I'm just going to grab one, Shift D, and copy it and move it over. And we'll plug it into here. We need another UV map to bake to, so I'm going to add one more, rename this to Bake. Make sure you got the camera turned on. Change your UV map here connected to your bake node to Bake. Now we need to unwrap it one more time, so over here I'm just going to hit Tab, hit A, View, Unwrap, and we can jump to the UV map and check it. You know what? I'm just going to move this and scale it up because it'll be better anyway. So I'm going to select the vertex on there, hit L, move it up, scale it up to give us some more texture space. And I'm going to move this one a little bit also. And just line these guys up how you want to line them up. Then we can go back to shading. Make sure our easy button bake is selected. Make sure our button is selected. Make sure you have anything in the scene you don't want to see hidden. And we can go to the render settings. Check the samples you want. 300 is probably good for me. Go to bake and bake it. Oh, so I made a mistake. I did not add this stuff to my other material. So we're going to select both of them. Right click and copy them. Go to the materials tab, scroll up, select our silver, and just paste them in there. There we go. I had to select a window first. Select our easy button, image texture node, go to the red one, make sure it's selected. Now we can go back to rendering and bake it again. Now we should get some silver. There we go. I've got a dark spot there and I don't know why. Something is blocking. Oh, I still have a sphere in there, and my camera is turned on. You see the camera's turned on? So if I unhide the sphere, that's where that black blot's coming from. But if you have it hidden, it doesn't care. You have to have the camera turned off. So now if we bake it one more time, it bakes without that stupid black splotch. We can go to image, hit select your three dots, go to image, and you got your little asterisks as I've been showing before. Save as, easy button bake complete is fine, and it's in my baking good. Save image as, go to layout. Um, the one thing I didn't test is whether or not my face orientation was right before I baked. So before you bake, typically the workflow is you set everything up, and before you bake, you check your face orientation. So go to solid view, go to face orientation, make sure everything was blue. But because of the way I built it, I knew it was going to be right. Um, and I like to bake and make mistakes and say, oh, I forgot to check. So make sure you check your face orientations, because if these are inside out, uh, meaning if they're red, they'll bake black. So you don't want to do that. Face orientation. Now I want to check the size of it before I export it. So go to item, and my dimensions are wrong. The scale is 1, so that's fine, but the dimensions are just too big. I'm going to scale that down to the biggest one to be 1/2 meter, because that's kind of my workflow for Second Life. So about there. That should be good. Now my scale's off, so we need to apply transforms. So object, apply all transforms. And now we can export this guy. But before we export, we need to do one more thing, and that is remove all of these UV maps that we made except for the baked one. So we want to select this one and hit the X, or the minus, minus, and minus, and only keep the baked one. Because if you export it with all those in there, it's not going to work. Unless you get lucky. Sometimes you'll get lucky and it'll be on the right one, but now it's correct. And we can go File, Export, Collada, Operator Presets, Static, Uncheck Copy. I'm going to throw this on the desktop and export. I didn't even rename it. It's still named Untitled. And then we need to jump into Second Life. So before we upload this to Second Life and do all the stuff that I was going to do, my friend Celestine watches me make all these videos, and she's yelling at me. So before we shrink this down, so I've Control Z back to where I have my UV maps back, and I have my button back to the size it was. Before you do this, go ahead and make a copy, and you can hit Shift D to make a copy, and then hit M and make a new collection and call it copy, and click OK, and then we can just hide that copy collection and get it out of our way. Then we can scale this down and stuff. Before we do that, Celeste says that if I rename this and put it at the top and make sure it's selected, it'll work. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put 001 and then do the A to Z. And that'll put it at the top, and it's selected. So now we can scale this down like we did before. 5.5. Good enough. Apply our transforms. Export it. The presets are the same. I'm going to name it title 1 and export. And then we can jump into Second Life. Okay, in Second Life, let's go ahead and go to Build, Upload, Mesh Model. We'll do DAE1. Turn our lowest to 0. Go to Physics, choose 1. Cube. We'll name this to Easy Button Complete. And I'm also going to check my level of details on this one to give you guys some explanation. If you hit Control in Second Life and left mouse button, you can rotate a little bit and look at it a little better and zoom in on it. I'm going to select medium and check the load model. Check low. Low's breaking a little bit. But this thing's so low poly, and there's so little. It's going to be so small that it's not going to matter a lot. So what I can do, instead of trying to calculate all these, I can just go to use above, because it doesn't have enough geometry to matter, and it's not going to go over one land impact because it's just not complicated enough. The bottom one, we're still going to keep it 0 and calculate weights and fees. So see, we're at half a land impact, but our high, medium, and low are all the same exact model. So it's never going to break if you get away from it until you get far enough away for the lowest to generate. And we can go ahead and export that. Res it out. And zoom out on it. See, it doesn't break. Edit the color. Make it white. Click OK. Bring in our image texture. So upload. And we can drag that right out of here onto here. And there is our easy button in Second Life. So I hopped onto the main grid because I want to upload this button and put it on my desk. I left that video with all the mistakes in it and everything so you guys could kind of get a idea of, what's going on sometimes when we're making these videos. I don't know if you guys like it like that or not. You can let me know in the comments. Let's get this thing in the world here. Upload mesh model. That'd be desktop. Let's do from above on this one, from above on that one, and this one is 0. Physics is a cube. Blender easy button. Upload. Put her on the desk. Change the color to white. Upload the texture. And drag and drop it on there. The texture's not resin. I'm not sure what happened there. Second Life just took a while to res that, but now it looks good. I didn't do anything different. I uploaded it a second time and was fighting with it, and then all of a sudden it just resed. So there was nothing wrong with the texture, it just didn't res. So that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it and learned something, go ahead and like and subscribe. Don't forget I have a Patreon for a lot more content kind of like this because they're live and they're a mess. Some of them are great, some of them are crazy. Also, come see me in Second Life, and I will see you guys in the next one.